Okay, good. So again, let me start again. I'm Robin Jones, director of the ABF Career Alliance. Um, we are with episode number 21, if you can believe it, on Friday's Net Effect. So looks like we're good now. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to be doing a few things different today. So we're going to have a live performance. So we've been working on that prior, doing some mic checks, sound checks, and everything. So we have a little bit of things we're going to be doing and moving around today. But I tell you, it's going to be really exciting. So everybody hear me okay now? Good. Thank you. Let me know. Just tell me in the chat or in the Q&A. Good. Thanks. All right, perfect. Donna, will you just make sure that we're still good live streaming on Facebook? I checked it earlier. Looks like we were good. I'd appreciate that. Or Lane, would you as well? Thanks. All right. Let's get rolling. I'm so excited. I'm on the edge of my seat. Oh yeah, one last thing, chat's been disabled. So communicate with me through the Q&A. It is open for everyone. Yep, all set there. So we're good. Thank you, Donna, appreciate that. Donna Fletcher is our marketing communications manager. She is terrific. She has been really helpful this week. I just want to give her a quick shout out for all the work and effort she's put together with this special program. So let me just get going. Now, if you didn't know about the Albert Baker Fund's outreach and how many different things we support, this is one that's been really, really successful, and that is the internship program that we help provide tuition grants for eligible undergraduate students who intern at the First Church of Christ Zionists in Boston, which we affectionately refer to as the Mother Church. On the website at albertbakerfund.org, you can find all the different programs that we support on that website, and it has wonderful information and great stories about that. But today we're going to feature one of those summer interns from this past summer. And in fact, her name is Emma. And we'd like for Emma to join us. Thank you, dear. She's got herself in her studio. If you can unmute, I would appreciate that too. Great. Say howdy, Emma.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Robin.
Yep. Emma is majoring in multimedia storytelling at Grinnell College in Iowa. She's an athlete, runner on the cross country and track team at Grinnell. And she is also a singer-songwriter pursuing a future that weaves together her interest in storytelling through songwriting, film, multimedia, and writing. She's passionate about using many forms of storytelling as a force for positive change, helping people build understanding and empathy as a singer-songwriter. Currently, she is taking a gap year. We're going to talk about some of those things. And formally, she was an intern this summer at the Mother Church. And so we want to get a little bit of background and get to know Emma a little bit and find out about her amazing story. And then later, we got a real surprise for you all that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So let's get rolling. So when you have all these incredible interests, Emma, and you have, you're an athlete, you're a musician, you're a songwriter, and tell us a little bit about this picture, kind of where you started putting the pieces together, moving into that career journey.
Yeah, so this photo that you see here is from my senior project presentation when I was a senior in high school. And before that presentation, I worked on this project over the summer before senior year. And I wanted the project to be something that just kind of tied together a lot of my interests that I was curious about pursuing more. And so that included interviewing people. I found about 30 people who I interviewed and asked them pretty existential questions, just like, what do you wish could change in the world? And what would you tell other people to do to make the world a better place? And questions like that. And that was a really special process, just being able to connect on an individual level with different people. And so based on their interview responses, I sort of wove together what I called a poetic narrative. And so it sort of was a story and just different pieces of inspiration from all these different voices of who I interviewed. And also a part of the project was a song that I created, and that was sort of pulling different specific stories from the interviews. And I also acted a little bit in what ultimately became this short film, which I called Tapestry, which I think does a good job of just kind of summing up what the project was all about. So weaving together a lot of people's voices, weaving together my different interests. And I think at the time, I didn't really think about how that project was going to impact me in the future. I just was doing it because it was so many different things that I love to do, kind of all combined. And so, yeah, at the time, I didn't know what exactly I was doing and how I could maybe pursue that more in the future. So that was just a project that I think now more than 2 years later, almost 3 years later now, it's definitely been impactful in my life in many different ways that I didn't know would be the case when I was doing it.
Wow, I mean, so you really started your songwriting early. I mean, you had some things going on in high school. So you moved into, I mean, you decided to go to school at a liberal arts college in the Midwest. What was it that helped you navigate there?
Yeah, so I'd heard about Grinnell. I actually visited the campus in the summer in my high school years, and I just kind of had it on my radar. And then I visited my senior year fall, and I just fell in love with the community, with the professors and the students and the cross country and track and field coaches. And so it was sort of all these different things kind of combined that made me really want to go there. And I think part of me was like really drawn to going somewhere because of the location. Like I wanted to go to school in California because I wanted to be by the ocean. And then when I visited Grinnell, I was like, well, this is in the middle of Iowa, which is a lovely state, I've come to learn. But at the time, I didn't really know much about it. My mom grew up in Iowa, so I guess there's that. But I knew really hardworking people are from Iowa and really friendly people. But I didn't think that people were there necessarily for the location, and I wanted to know why they were there. And so that's definitely been the case as time has gone on. I've been there for 2 years now. Just people are intentionally there for the college, and I think that's what makes it so special. And so, yeah, I would say just a lot of different things drew me there. They also have a lot of focus on social justice, and that's been something that I've been interested in and definitely influences, I think, my interests currently. So,
Well, how did you get to, I mean, that very specific multimedia storytelling? I mean, that sounds like, I mean, I've never really seen that kind of specific major. Tell us about how that came about.
yeah, well, honestly, I didn't know about what multimedia storytelling could look like. I didn't really think of it at this point last year, even. And I would say it's sort of, as I was saying with my senior project, like I had done a project like that I combined all my different interests. But when I went to college, I felt kind of overwhelmed having to choose between my different interests of songwriting and acting and writing and film. And so I was not really sure which direction to go. I actually went to Grinnell thinking I was going to major in physics because that was just so different, and I felt like I could pursue that and wanted to become an astronaut. And I took a physics class spring of my freshman year, and my heart just wasn't in it. I was like, I don't think I can see myself pursuing this for the next 4+ years. And so I definitely had to do a little kind of timeout and figure out where was my heart and what was I really drawn to, and it was all these different things. And so over the summer between freshman and sophomore year, I did a lot of just sort of contemplating about my interests, and I met with my advisor at Grinnell in the fall last year just to sort of tell him where my head was at and where I should go with all these different things, like what should I major in. And he listened and was just so supportive in just hearing all these different things and where I was at. And he found this theme of storytelling woven throughout all my different interests. And I think when he said that to me, it just sort of lit this light bulb inside my head. And I realized, like, I don't have to choose between one of these different interests. I can combine them all in a unique way, because there is this kind of commonality in all of them that I don't think I had realized for myself until he said it. And so that was so exciting. And he suggested creating my own major at Grinnell. It's called an independent major. And he said, how about call it multimedia storytelling? And as I said, I didn't really know what that would look like. And I don't know if he did either, but it just sounded like that kind of fit with all those different pieces of storytelling that I was interested in. And so over the past year now, I've definitely became more familiar with what multimedia storytelling looks like to me. And it's these different pieces, so music and film and writing and all these different forms of storytelling, how we can use stories for positive change. And I think within my major, I'm sort of focusing on 4 different disciplines. So English, anthropology, sociology, and theater. And each of those sort of has a different facet of storytelling. And I think it's important to understand the foundation of storytelling. And so that's kind of where sociology comes in, and because stories sort of emerge from this social foundation. And if I'm wanting to use stories for social change, what does that look like? And then anthropology is a big piece to ethnography, specifically how to gather stories from a person or group of people in a way that truly represents them. And also theater, I think that the art of bringing stories to life on stage has been around for centuries. And so I've been really intrigued to explore why it is that these stories have been so timeless. I was in a Greek drama class last spring and got to sort of explore why specific ancient Greek dramas have been continued throughout history. And I think one of the main things that I got out of that class was humans today are still asking these same questions, and that the Greeks were asking then, and theater is able to kind of bring these questions to life on stage, to explore these questions so that people can understand themselves better. So that's where theater fits into the major. And then English is just, the art and the craft of storytelling, because people have been writing stories for so long as well, and understanding or learning about renowned authors and what makes their literature so impactful, I think, is really important if I'm wanting to go into some field of storytelling. So that's just a brief overview of what the major has become so far, and I'm excited because I have 2 more years of making it my own. But I'm just really grateful for my advisor and for all the people at Grinnell who've definitely helped me feel supported to pursue all these different interests and combine them in an intentional way.
I tell you, when you're trying to pick out, I was just going, I was watching my youngest daughter, Jewel, look at different classes, and man, you must have like a mountain of classes that you have to look at, and so many different choices to make to be able, from all these different places. I'm not sure how you figure out which class to go to next.
It's definitely been fun. I love planning things, and I think that's a big part of this independent major, is having to plan. And so I've been enjoying it. I get to learn about so many different classes and which ones I want to take. And usually there's just so many that I want to take and I can't fit it all in my schedule. But yeah, it's definitely nice being able to sort of pull from a lot of different departments.
So when you look at that and you have all these different things that you're learning and all the theory and stuff that you get from the classes and the textbooks and knowledge, you said, you felt like it was kind of time to start looking for a way to find something that you can get your teeth into and do something practical. So
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how that began to unfold and where that took you.
Yeah. So because a lot of this major takes place in a classroom, I really wanted to still be able to explore what multimedia storytelling looks like outside the classroom and find practical opportunities to apply that interest. And so that was a big piece of what I wanted this past summer to be, just finding an opportunity to see what multimedia storytelling could look like in an applied context. And so I heard about this internship through TMC Youth, and I was trying to remember specifically how I learned about it. I know I remember going to the website and finding information about it, but I can't remember if someone had told me about it beforehand. But anyways, I applied and I was accepted as an intern in the Broadcasting and Multimedia Services Department. And at the time, I think this was early spring, so I don't think we knew it was going to be remote yet, but I was really excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I get to go to Boston. And then a month maybe later, we found out that it was going to be remote. And so that definitely changed things. And I had to sit with it and be like, what am I really wanting to get out of this experience? Is it being in Boston, or is it learning about these skills that I could still be learning about from my house in Colorado? And so I think I started thinking more about what this might look like, and I ultimately decided to stay with the internship. And I think one of the big pieces for me of going into the internship that I wanted to focus on was just this idea of having an open mind, because it was during a time when things were just feeling so uncertain, and I guess they kind of still are for all of us. But I wanted to make sure that this internship could be something positive for me and something that I could contribute to positively as well. And I remember writing down in the back of one of my notebooks just all these different things that I was really grateful for to be doing this internship, and things that I was looking forward to and hoping to learn. And reflecting back now that the internship is over, I think that helped me feel as open-minded, I guess, as possible. And there was a lot of, I guess, spiritual thought involved in that as well, just staying open and trusting that this was where I was being led, and God was taking me in the right direction, I guess.
So that sense of gratitude, and didn't you kind of write down, like on a sheet of paper, all these different things you were grateful for? I mean, was that part of that gratitude exercise?
Yes, for sure. Just being able to think about, why am I doing this internship and what am I thankful for? I got this box of equipment that I was going to be using
Yeah,
for the summer. So a
like
camera,
Christmas. Yeah,
yeah, it felt like Christmas,
yeah.
and a laptop, and other equipment that I was going to be using that I would have used, I guess, if I was in Boston. But when I got it in the mail, I was like, oh my goodness, wow, this is really happening. And I just, again, felt this sense of gratitude, I guess, just because these people were still making this internship possible, even though it was remote. So much gratitude to the church and to the department I was in for still making it such an enriching experience. And I'll talk more about the specific people I worked with, but
Yeah, let's do.
yeah,
You had
okay.
some specific goals, right? I mean, there were things that you wanted to try to accomplish and learn, and maybe some new skills. And this was all
Yeah.
new for the mother church, because they've never, it hadn't been remote. All the interns are always there, and I go every summer and I do a workshop for the interns. So I can always see how close they get, and how they can just walk around and meet people, and they're so this was a totally different thing being remote, right?
Yes. Yeah. I remember at the beginning of the summer, one of the things that our intern leaders had said was, you're going to really learn about what it's like to work in a remote working environment. And I remember thinking, like, well, I don't want to learn that. Like, I don't want to
Right.
have to work remote. But
Yeah.
I realize now, like, obviously that's become a part of our world, whether we want it to or not. And I think knowing those skills of how to be productive and communicative online is really valuable in any sort of situation. So, um,
So what was it like? I mean, working with a team that you never met, right?
yeah,
Like in
still
person.
haven't
So
met them in person.
yeah, I
Yeah.
never got to, right. Yes. Yeah, so you're
Yeah.
all, everything, your interview, all of it was all remote. So what was it like? I mean, so tell us a little bit about your team and your
Yes.
interaction with them.
Okay, so I'll talk about the broadcasting department. I'll call them BMPS for short, Broadcasting Multimedia Production Services. And so my two advisors or supervisors there were Morgan and Tori. Fabulous, so incredibly helpful and just really giving of their time. And the whole team was just so welcoming. Even though it was over Zoom, I felt like I still was able to make a connection with them. And I think they helped me learn a lot about these different softwares that I was wanting to learn, and specifically Pro Tools and Premiere. So audio and video editing software. Previously, I had been doing a lot of sound editing in GarageBand and the movie editing in iMovie. And while those are great to learn on, I definitely wanted to sort of up my skills and be able to use more professional software if I was wanting to pursue that in other contexts. So I was able to learn both of those this summer, and some of the people in the BMPS department gave me some tutorials on those different softwares, and that was just so valuable. I think I love Grinnell, but I'm not able to have those like very in-depth classes about certain things. Like I wouldn't be able to take a class in Pro Tools or Premiere. And so being able to have this internship to learn those skills was so beneficial. And yeah, just being able to see all of what the department does, I think was really interesting. They put on the annual meeting. They're the people behind the annual meeting, and they pulled that off, I think, wonderfully with it being online this year. So that was at the beginning of the internship. I got to sort of see that process, and they do a lot of audio editing for like the daily lift and some for the monitor, and a lot of Zoom events now that are hosted by different departments within the church. And so it was really neat to just learn about everything that that department does and how they work with all these other departments in the church. And I think that was a big thing that I've reflected on, and think that it was just really valuable to learn about all these different departments within the church, because I had no idea about any of them before the internship. So getting to work with a lot of different people and different departments has been really fabulous. And yeah, so that was the BMPS department. And then I was also sort of a part of the board office interns, and the supervisor for that is Amy. And she was just so fabulous in helping all of us, I think, feel supported. And one thing that I was working on with her was these videos. And she was, at the beginning of the summer, she said she was really hoping to create more video content for Sunday school children, because there wasn't much up on the website. And that sounded really intriguing to me, because that sounds like multimedia storytelling. And she had some poems that she had found that were previously published in Sentinels in like 2000, 2001. And she said, let's make a video with this poem, and the children, Sunday school children, will illustrate, and I would be the video editor. And so that sounded really exciting. And what ended up happening is we created a few different videos like that. And so I'll talk specifically about one, which you can see. This is an illustration from the video, A Psalm for You. So I'll kind of zoom in on that project, but I worked on a few different videos other than that as well. And so, as I mentioned, Amy found this poem called A Psalm for You that was published in the Sentinel years back. And when I saw it, I think I was like, oh my gosh, this would be a really fun song. So I asked Amy, I was like, do you think I could put this to a melody? And she was all for it. And that was something I've been so grateful for, just her enthusiasm to kind of help me weave in my different interests and experiences. So being able to create the song, and then I recorded it, and then I created a storyboard for the poem. And so how that worked was I just went through and sort of found these different visuals that I thought went with the poem. And then Victoria, who is another intern, was on the communication side of things for this project, which was so fun to work with her. And I think really wonderful that even though we were remote, it was still nice to be able to have that working experience with another person. And there were a few other board interns who I was able to work with as well in other projects. But anyways, so Victoria sent out this email to a lot of different Sunday school teachers to communicate to their students about this project. And so the students then signed up for an illustration that was sort of going to be inspired by the storyboard that I made. And then we also sent out the recording of the song, and then the kids had the option to record themselves singing along to the song. And so putting it all together, I was able to create this video with these children's illustrations and their voices singing along to the song. and I did a little bit of animation on the illustrations, which was a skill that I hadn't been familiar with before, and I still am learning, but I think it's such a valuable thing to know how to do, and so I'm really glad that the people in the BMPS department helped me learn that. And just reflecting back on this project, I think has been so profound just to know that during this time when Sunday school isn't able to happen in person, these students were still able to feel a part of something and contribute and connect. I think being able to see other people's illustrations and their own illustrations within a project has been really meaningful, and I've been so grateful for all the positive feedback of the video. So I guess I didn't mention yet, but it was released as a daily lift a few weeks ago, and now it's up permanently on the website. And I also did a daily lift video before this one called Axe Head Floats, and there's another one that's going to be coming out soon. And so just being able to work on this project and know that there's so many different voices a part of it has been something that I've been really grateful to be able to do. And I think another part of that is just knowing that these children are able to connect to Christian Science more. I think for young children in particular, it can be hard to understand some key concepts of Christian Science when you're so young. And so how do we bring that to these children in a way that they will be able to understand? And I think these videos have been a way for them to sort of understand what they need to in the way that in the developmental stage that they're at, and being able to be a part of the project too and feel like they're being seen and heard, I think is so important. And so it's been just so incredibly fun to be able to be a part of the process, and so thankful for Amy for making these projects possible, and Victoria for being on the communication side of things, and everyone else. It's been also a lot of working with other departments in the church, so the language department and the legal department and other departments that just help put this sort of project together. And that's been really helpful to just understand how different parts of the church work together. And yeah, this, as I mentioned, that's a slide from the video, A Psalm for You.
Well, it sounds like you got a lot done this summer. Did you accomplish what you set out to accomplish and find that those practical skills you were looking for?
For sure. I don't think I knew going into the summer like what specifically I was going to be doing, and I don't know if my supervisors did either. So that's kind of what was really fun about it, just going along and not really knowing how many videos I was going to get done. And it was definitely an organic process, but I certainly learned skills that I was hoping to learn within those software that I was talking about, and also animation. And I think something that has been really valuable to learn as well is file management, because when you're working on any sort of project, I think it's important to know how to label files correctly and be communicative to other people who are working on the same project so that they can know where to find those files and things like that I wouldn't necessarily have thought about. But I think in any sort of professional environment, communication and file management are really important. And so I've been really glad to have that experience through the internship.
I think that's just terrific. These internships and the interns that that come in every summer, they do incredible work, and it's a valuable experience for them because they get real world experience. They get professional mentoring and opportunities to connect with folks within the church, learn more about the workings of our church, and find new people, make new friendships that are professional friendships. So this is your friend Victoria, right?
Yeah.
I thought it'd be fun to add this in. Actually, Donna made this suggestion of why don't we have some quotes from some of the other interns to let folks see them. Well, this is Victoria, and she said she loved hearing feedback from the families. She worked in she was the project communications coordinator for A Song for You, right? She was in the board office and international service departments. And she said, camp may have been canceled, but this project gave kids an opportunity to connect with their Sunday school teacher or have a special project they could do in the house. I'm so grateful to have an opportunity to give to the movement in this way. And then Caitlin says, and she was in the church activities department. This is Project Help. I gained a greater sense of how to turn to God in trusting in mind's unfoldment. There were many moments we weren't sure how something was going to come together. Every time we trusted that mine was unfolding this next step, everything always came together and ended up how it needed to be. And then Noah, who was a project coordinator, music and musicians for TMC Online Youth Summit. I learned that divine love's creativity blesses us all in really unexpected ways. The online format wasn't typical, but it has blessed so many because it has been supplying the need for a sense of community amid claims of isolation and loneliness. And Melissa, who was Membership Outreach Project, working with 19 local TMC communication coordinators to update contact info for approximately 3,000 plus international members. She says, one of my favorite highlights was our weekly metaphysical meeting where we shared concepts that we were praying with. I was so grateful to be working at a place where you can not only talk about prayer and God, but everyone is supporting your spiritual progress. And Carlotta, and didn't you guys have a special, Lottie, is that her nickname? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Love this. She worked in the weekly production and editorial decisions for the German Herald, managed and organized. She says it was such a blessing to work with an amazing Herald team. I felt so embraced and cherished. I never felt for a moment that I was not heard or my opinion was not important. Everyone was so interested in new ideas of how to make everything better. And you echo that too, right? I mean, your experience was there was an openness, there was a willingness to be heard, listened to, and work outside the box, right?
Yeah.
Well, now I think what we'll do is we will get that little guitar in your hands, right?
Alrighty.
And I'm going to do this. So we're going to stop the screen share. And I'm going to go away. And we're going to give you the mic and the floor. So give us a little bit about the song. We talked a little bit about it, but give us a little intro.
All right. So the song I'm going to play for you is the Psalm for You song, which I put to a melody this summer, and that was the audio for the video project I was just talking about. And yeah, it's just been so fun getting to create this project. And now I've found myself in moments when I needed a bit of spiritual inspiration, just start singing the song in my head, because it's been stuck in my head for the past few months now. So maybe it'll get stuck in yours too. If you climbed to the top of a snow-covered mountain and hid in the feathers of a golden eagle, love would be there, because God is everywhere. If you walked in the deep green of a tropical rainforest and rode down the river on the back of a crocodile, love would even be there, because God is everywhere. If you went to the bottom of a blue-green ocean and tickled the tentacles of a rubbery octopus, love would even be there, because God is everywhere. And if you climbed a rainbow to the top of the red and slid down the orange to the bottom of the violet, God would catch you in his arms, because you're so dear to him. If you were afraid or sick or sad, if you felt lost in the darkness of a stormy night, God would lighten the darkness with his pure light. God would remind you that you are his child, always safe and well in his own care. Wherever you are, God's love is there, because God is everywhere, because God is everywhere. So when you listen to that song in the video, you'll hear all these children's voices as well. So thanks for letting me play that.
Oh, that was awesome. That was wonderful. Thanks so much. Well, I can tell you that you mentioned Amy Richmond. She's a daily Lift producer. She says about Emma, I can't tell you how happy we were with Emma this summer. She was a dream to work with. After she created the storyboard for the Daily Lift video, she offered to write a song for it, as you guys just heard. And she was blown away when I heard it was so beautiful and perfect for the Lift. It was Emma's idea to have the kids sing with it too. I love that she wants to highlight others. The video was one of my favorite projects to date, and Emma excelled as an intern.
Thanks.
And yeah, isn't that special?
I think she's watching.
Oh, good. Yeah, super. So here's our credits for that. And as you can tell, Emma's a wonderful musician. And there's a part two now. Now that you're finished with the internship, you were offered, I don't want to jump too far, but you also, while you were at home, you were keeping yourself busy, right, with other projects. Tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, so I was just really wanting to perform this past spring for in-person, I guess, concerts. And while live streaming is great, I'm grateful that that exists. I was wanting to have, real people in the audience that are close to me, I guess. And so one day I think I was just like, well, I have a roof. I wonder what it would be like to do a concert on the roof. And I'm sure other people have done this. I won't claim to be the original roof concert person, but I think I'd been inspired by people performing from their balconies in like Italy and other places. And so that probably subconsciously impacted my decision to do something like this. So I did a few different roof concerts in the spring, and it was fun to have the neighbors walking by and stop to listen and just have that feeling of an in-person show that I was missing. And there's something really interesting about being able to stand up there and look out and see the world and just feel, I don't know, having more of this bird's eye view, which I think is kind of a metaphor for what this time has been like, being able to sort of zoom out and see the bigger picture at times.
Yeah, and things have changed, obviously, and you've got a different landscape now. And as a result of your work this summer, you're now you've been offered and you've accepted, right? You're going to be working on some new projects as a junior media producer. Is that right?
Yeah, I started, I guess, almost 2 weeks ago now in that position. So that's been really wonderful getting to carry on the work that I was doing this summer as an intern and still working with Amy and people in the BMPS department, getting to work on these videos that I think are really important just to have these Sunday school children participating in them.
So what other things are you going to be doing now that you're in a gap year and not in class? Obviously, you're going to have, what, 20 hours a week with the mother church, but what other things are you thinking about?
Yeah, so in addition to the job, I am definitely hoping to work on sort of building more of a fan base for my music. And I think that will involve some hopefully live in-person shows, some live streaming, and I'm looking forward to maybe getting in the studio to record some. And also, I am teaching songwriting lessons. That's been really fun. I taught a singer-songwriter camp a few weeks ago at my house. I've been doing that for the past 3 years now. So it's a camp for young girls to get to explore what songwriting is, and that's always so special, just to help them or watch them as they find their voice and get inspired to write songs and watch that sort of blossom in them, because I love songwriting. Getting to watch other people do that is so fun. And so I'm also hoping to do a singer-songwriter workshop. That's an after-school program as well, sort of similar to the summer camp. And I also am wanting to just focus on different projects. Like I want to I'm kind of working in the process of making a musical. It's not necessarily going to be performed on stage, but maybe an audiobook musical where it's songs and people kind of narrating, or one person narrating. So you don't have all the individual characters, but you still sort of get the sense of a musical. And I'm hoping for that to sort of explore environmental things that are really necessary to understand right now. And specifically, I want the musical to be for children or for people young at heart, just to help them to understand the importance of taking care of the earth. And so that's an example, I think, of what I want storytelling, or how I want to use storytelling for positive change, just helping people understand important issues. And I am training for a marathon as well. So that definitely takes up some time. But I figured because my cross-country season was canceled and I'm not in classes, I wanted to devote some more time to running. And I've definitely been running a lot more than I have in the past, just a lot further, I guess. And that's been really enjoyable so far. I think there's a lot of opportunity during this time that I didn't expect to find. So
And in amongst that, you're also, you've been, I always ask this question of all my guests about, do you recommend having conversations with different professionals, outside your lane? And you have an interesting story about your interest in, maybe starting a nonprofit, that a conversation that you had with someone that kind of helped you think through it a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, I can talk about that. So I guess backing up a little bit, in my senior year of high school, I volunteered at the Christian Science Care Facility, Wide Horizon, which is close to my house. And that was a lovely experience. And one of my favorite parts of that was getting to talk with the residents and sit in their room and just listen to their stories that they had from throughout their life. It just felt like they were wanting someone to listen. And so I was really impacted by that experience, and I wanted to create, I think I started thinking more about this idea in the past few months now, but I wanted to create a nonprofit that ultimately would, I guess, go into care facilities like Wide Horizon, or visit people maybe in the hospital, or people who are close to passing on from this world, and getting to sit down with them and listen to their stories. And then I would record their stories as they're talking. So maybe it'd be through filming them or just audio recording them, because I felt like that would be a special thing for them to give to their family members or special friends. And so that was something that I've sort of been thinking of this past summer. And I have no experience of starting a nonprofit, so I didn't really know how to go about that. And I knew, though, that I wanted to bring this sort of program or something like it to people who would need it. And so this past week, actually, I was told or suggested by my mom to reach out to my family's midwife, the midwife for me. And um, I I reached out to her, and a little backstory on her, she's been in the radio world for a while. And so my mom thought that she would have really good insight into my interests. So I connected with her. We had a phone conversation, and she listened to this idea of a nonprofit and was like, I love that idea, but nonprofits take so much work and energy, and they're usually a labor of love. And it sounds like you want to do the creative side of it, but you wouldn't probably be able to do a lot of that. You would mostly be doing administrative stuff for a while. And hearing that was, I think, so helpful, just because who knows, I might have been devoting the next few years of my life to creating this nonprofit that I think is important, like something like it. But she suggested finding ways to bring that sort of program of recording people's stories in different ways. And she also mentioned some organizations like StoryCorps, which sort of does similar things, where people can go to these story booths and record their own stories, and they have an app. So there's a lot of different ways to sort of bring that without starting a nonprofit. So I think that's just an example of how talking to someone who's in your professional field of interest can be really impactful. And even if I'm not going to pursue that specific opportunity, I see it as a way kind of opening up other things. Like, I'm going to have more time to do other things that are important to me now. And I'm grateful for her to kind of give that insight and professional reflection experience.
Well, some of the organizations that you've been involved with at school, even though school's not in session right now, is it being in person.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about those and why you've pursued some of those, and some of the benefits you've gotten from them.
Yeah, so the first one, International Athletes and Allies, I was a part of that my freshman year, and it just felt really necessary to help kind of make athletics at Grinnell specifically more inclusive of international students, because a lot of times the students who participate in athletics are domestic. And so the people who created this organization were really feeling like that was an important sort of group to have that is advocating for international athletes and making athletics more accessible for people coming out of the country. And so that was, I think, really valuable to be able to just learn about what it's like to be an athlete when you're not from the US, and how to be able to make it more inclusive for everyone. And so I think doesn't necessarily just have to be limited to athletics. That lesson can be applied to any sort of context. How do we make this environment more inclusive for everyone? And then the next organization, Student Athletes Leading Social Change, I've not been I've not been too much a part of it, but I've definitely attended some meetings, and I know that they do a lot of important events on campus. I think they did like a sexual assault awareness walk through campus at one point, and all these different issues that are prevalent on any college campus, bringing awareness to that. They've also done things in the wider Grinnell community, which I think is really amazing. And so that's something that I hope when I go back to Grinnell in person, definitely want to be more a part of that group. And this past year, I hosted open mic nights on campus with a friend, which was so fun, getting to bring this opportunity for people to perform to life, I guess, and getting to see all these wonderful student performers and comedians and poets to get to see them perform was really special. And hopefully we'll be able to continue doing that even though it's remote. We did a little bit of remote open mic nights in the spring, so we'll see if we can continue that this year. And I'm also part of what's called the Music and Health program in Grinnell, and so I get to go into nursing homes and play music for the residents, which is really special just to be able to share music with people who are usually so appreciative of it, which just feels really good and reminds me how important music is in all of our lives, no matter your age.
And
And
obviously, not last but least, the cross country team, which
yes,
yeah, and
that takes up a lot of my time in college, and I think it's really I love being able to be a part of a team in that way and feel like you're working towards goals together and growing in athletics and just as people. And so that's been a big part of my college experience as well.
Oh, well, we've come towards the end, and so we've got to wrap this thing up. I can't believe how fast this has
That
gone.
flies by. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
man, yeah. So tell us about your top 3 takeaways.
Yes. So the first one, turning limitations into opportunities. I think that's sort of been a theme for me during this time. I attended this webinar with a musician that I really look up to. Her name is Ellie Holcomb, and she's a Christian musician based out of Nashville, and she's just done incredible things with her music. And so I attended this, and I got to ask her a question, and I was like, what do you suggest for just continuing music during this time and building a fan base during this time when we can't be in person? And she said, find ways to turn limitations into opportunities. And so I've just been so inspired by that to kind of apply that in so many different ways in my life. So I think that roof concert was an example of, okay, I don't have like many opportunities to go to a venue and perform, but I could go on the roof and do an in-person show. And I think the internship also was an example of just being able to turn this remote experience into something that I gained such valuable experience from and made wonderful connections with wonderful people. And another just example of that. And then the second one, trusting in God's all-encompassing plan to lead you to where you need to go. I think that's just something that I really rely on as much as possible, trusting that God is going to send you those messages, those angel messages of where you need to be led. And I feel like I did that for the internship, just really feeling like that was where I was needing to go. And I'm always feeling like just so grateful to be able to have that foundation of Christian Science to rely on in all points of my life. And the third one, connecting with career professionals / mentors, that I think is something that I'm learning more about the value of now that I'm sort of getting into this stage of soon to be looking more for jobs after I graduate in 2 years. And that story about connecting with my parents' midwife was, I think, another just realization of how important it is to be able to connect to these career allies. And I'm excited to connect with more people who Robin has suggested me to connect with through the Career Alliance, just to hear more of their perspective. And I think that's just so valuable in whatever field you're in or wanting to go into.
Well, you've got some really wonderful career connections to career allies. I mean, these wonderful folks, and so I can't wait to hear the feedback from you and from them. I know it's going to be terrific. So we got to wrap this up. I can't believe how quick it's gone. I'm going to launch the poll, so I would really appreciate if everyone can take a few minutes and give us their feedback. I'll leave this open for today's episode. If you have any questions for Emma, be sure and type them in the Q&A so that we can look at those. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, how has your perception of our church changed, or since you've had this opportunity? Even though you need to go sit in the edifice and be in the publishing society and break bread at lunchtime, how has this experience impacted you?
So I would definitely say my perception of church has certainly changed. I think it's helped me to realize that church can be anywhere. I think that was a theme of conversation that us interns had throughout the summer with different people, just how church can be anywhere you are, and getting to see how international the Mother Church, the Mother Church's reach is, and Christian Science in general, how international it is, has been really powerful. Those videos that I made, I was able to create them in multiple different languages. And so knowing that Christian Science can reach people beyond just the US and just beyond English speakers has been really something I didn't know too much about before. And also getting to understand everything that the Mother Church does for just people. I think just all the different departments. That's what I'm trying to say. Just so many different departments that the Mother Church has I didn't know about before the experience. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. But I think the main thing is just realizing that church can be anywhere because God is everywhere, as the psalm for you says, God is everywhere, and you can tap into that spiritual kind of pool of inspiration wherever you are.
I love it. So if you would like to connect with Emma, you may do so. All you have to do is go to the ABF Career Alliance and click either any one of those tabs that says Students, Job Seekers, Career Allies, and Employers, and you will find our Twitter feed on the right-hand side, and there's a link in there that you can click on for Emma to request that connection, and we'll get you connected. Brian, I want to let you know, Brian at West Horizon says he loved Emma so much. Keep singing and soaring. Virtual hugs
Thank
from
you.
your supporters in Boulder. So yeah, that's nice to see that. Thanks, Brian. And if anyone is interested, just a quick little note about our, probably the best, bar none, online career course is our Life Launch course. Emma mentioned something about informational interviews and making connections with folks. We have incredible news, success stories, career resources, and net effect episodes in there. And if you're interested, this is the link. I know it's a long one, so I'm not going to go through it, but I will send out the recording tomorrow. So if you want the specific link, you can find that. But if you just search the Daily Lift, go to the Daily Lift site, you'll find it in there as well. Do you remember what day that was, by the way?
I know it was a Wednesday.
It's been a few weeks ago, hadn't it?
Yeah, like August.
Yeah.
14th, around August 14th.
And I just wanted to, yeah, no problem. It's just a couple weeks ago. So yeah. When all of this COVID stuff started happening and our students started losing their jobs and everything started, we started the Brotherly Love campaign. And we're so grateful for this, and our students are so grateful. One of the things that's happening this fall is we are getting a bunch of new applications, first-time applications from students pouring in, because many of you may or may not know that most of the classes are not in session. They're all online, so they can't be in person. I know in my family, my kids have been impacted with their jobs, and so they're not working at their jobs. So many kids have so much up in the air. So we are seeing a lot of new applications this fall. So as you think about our students, think about our Brotherly Love campaign. We appreciate your support, and students like Emma appreciate your support. Be sure and follow us on our social media accounts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and connect with us on LinkedIn. I tell you, we cast a big net today and we pulled in some major fishes. Thanks to Emma. We so appreciate your time and the effort and all the good work that you're doing. It's so exciting. And thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for creating these net effects. I think they're so important.
Well, I appreciate that. We have had great, unbelievable support. It's been so much fun for me. And I think folks are really enjoying it. We sure love it. And we're so grateful that we can feature our students like yourself and and really do these wonderful get to know you sessions and get all this wonderful inspiration that you guys have. It's just been so meaningful. So again, we appreciate you. This is Robin Jones signing off for the Net Effect and for our dear guest, Emma. We appreciate it. Look forward to next week's episode. Our CEO, Mr. Dr. Joe Ritter, is going to be with us again for our part 2 session. Don't miss it. It's going to be really awesome. So we'll look forward to seeing everybody then. Thank you again, Emma. Have a terrific Labor Day weekend, all of